about astrology in a whole different way. Essentially, the way we see astrology in our world, it's like zodiac astrology and intuitive collective consciousness astrology, all this sort of concept that the planets and celestial bodies are influencing us. This is like studying the weather, it's like studying the tides. Through millennia of study, we have amazing groundwork for understanding the effects on astral bodies on the human. The astral bodies on the human body. An example of this is if you look at the Chinese calendar. If someone's an ox and someone's a rabbit, you have all those different animals. How many years is it? 13? Something like that? 12, thank you. Cool. Late 1980s, NASA released information of the sun radiation cycle, which lines up to the exact length of that Chinese calendar. So the sun's radiation cycle, that energy coming out of the sun, affecting different people at the time, the years they're born, is the exact same length as the NASA radiation cycle of the sun. So for 2,000 or 3,000 years, the Chinese have been completely intuitively aware of that cycle. And I'm talking like Taoist mystic kind of dudes hanging out, just feeling the vibe. Yeah? They don't have like crazy radiation telescopes or anything like that. They're just looking at these patterns through a long time and also downloading this kind of information from the Akashic field of human awareness through forwards and backwards in time. Maybe they were just reading the minds of NASA scientists in present day. Who knows, you know? So it's this sort of thing. Now, astrology is this idea, and a lot of people just reject astrology, especially dudes, I found. I was in a men's group, and we started talking about astrology, and everyone just went, I was like, really? Really? We were playing Trivial Pursuit once when I was a teenager, and like one of these questions came up, you know, what comes after cancer in the procession? And all the guys team and the women's team, all the guys were like, and all the women knew the answer, and they just couldn't believe it. So again, we're talking about these sort of faculties of the feminine knowing of these sorts of energies. We're talking about kind of these, this is not Newtonian billiard ball physics like guys are into. We're like into things smashing into other things and all that sort of thing, and like, you know, projectiles and artillery and stuff like that. So astrology is like, it's just this energy that's kind of changing things. Okay, so this is why women are so much more aware of it and into this sort of thing, because they're so much aware of energy and know more in their heart, because us guys, our hearts are more shut down because we're taught to be stoic and not have emotions and play rugby. So we're going to talk about the actual science that supports astrology so guys can just chill out a bit and get with the time. Now, the first kind of groundwork here, we're going to talk about the Doppler effect. The Doppler effect is something that's best described by an ambulance. When you hear an ambulance coming down the road, wheel, 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 it's coming towards you, wheel, 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 wheel. The tone changes as it goes past. So that noise, that wave of sound is coming towards you, but well, let's say the ambulance was still, it wouldn't change. It'd just be like, wheel, 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 you'd be standing here, it would just stay the same, right? When the ambulance is coming towards you, that tone, that wheel, wheel gets squished. Because the ambulance is coming towards you, you're down here, it gets squished. When you squish it, the amplitude of the sound gets pushed upwards and it makes a high frequency. Wheel, 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 wheel. Okay? So when it's coming towards you, it gets squished, and when it's going away, it gets pulled apart. So this is the Doppler effect, and it's very simple physics equations to calculate the change in a frequency determined by this trajectory. Very simple stuff. All waves of energy are influenced by the Doppler effect. This is why you get the thing called the blue or red shift with stars. You can look at the colour of a star, and that means that the trajectory of the star is changing the frequency of the light coming towards you or away from you. Yeah. So anything that is in energy is influenced by the trajectory of the source relative to the thing that's listening or seeing the energy. Now, you know, if you get a car with a big subwoofer, boom, 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 goes away. We've all heard it, okay? So this is something that's relatively real. Now, this is a French word, it's the Allais effect. So I want to get the guy's name right. Maurice Allais, I'm not sure how to say it properly. And in 1954, this guy must have been smoking something really strong because he started doing experiments with pendulums during an eclipse. Okay? That's a pretty random thing to do. So 1954. So a pendulum, let's say you got a pendulum and you let it go and it swings. So when I get this necklace and it goes like that, that's swinging at its natural frequency. It's not going slower, it's not going faster, its natural frequency is that. That's a natural frequency. So sometimes you get a spring, if you put a weight on the end of a spring and you pull it down and let it go, it will go like this. It won't go like that, it won't go like that, it will just go like that. That's the natural frequency. When you have roof racks on your car and you go a particular speed, usually about 85 k's an hour, you know that sort of gap, and it starts to whistle, that means the air is getting compressed through that gap that it's making, and it's interplaying with the natural frequency of the gap. And you can speed up and it will stop whistling, or you can slow down and it will stop whistling, but there might be a 5k area, you know, where you go, woo, on the roof, you're like, what is that? That means that the wind has reached the natural frequency of that space. Natural frequency is something they're very aware of when they build bridges. When they build a bridge over an area, they study, especially suspension bridges, they study the way the wind pulses in that area. There's a couple of amazing videos of bridges shaking themselves apart, where the wind is blowing, the gust rate blows the bridge that way, the bridge sways, it sways back. Then another gust gets it to swing again, it's swaying even more. You need to be really aware of these weather patterns when you're building a bridge, so that the natural swing frequency of the bridge is not the same as the storm gust frequency of common storms in that area. Everything has a natural frequency. So, when you're swinging the pendulum, I'll have to take this off again. So this French guy is tripping out, and he's swinging the pendulums and doing his experiments during an eclipse in a laboratory. So let's say you swing the pendulum to an exact point, right? And it takes a certain amount of time to stop, right? During an eclipse, the certain amount of time it takes to stop changes. Yeah. That's weird, eh?
Solar rays?
No. This is called the torsion field physics. Torsion means twist in Russian. What's twisting got to do with it? A twisting mass appears to make a field of energy, and this field of energy alters the inertia of all particles within that field. I'll take this off again. So during an eclipse, this will slow down or speed up. These strange things happen. So the twisting field, now I'm talking about the addition of two planets together, right? The sun, bodies, the moon and the sun come together, and they both have their own torsion field. But when they come together, they create a summation, like an additional field. They come together in the same spot. So the vibration or torsion field of every planet affects all the particles in our body. So what's happening with the pendulum? Its willingness to swing, or its non-willingness to swing, its inertia, is altered by the field of the eclipse. So it's going to have a different swing rate during the eclipse. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So that's the obvious effect. So a lot of these Russian scientists have gotten onto some of these incredible discoveries, and this has been repeated in the United States. These guys started, it's originally Russian, torsion Russian. These guys worked out how to test this in a laboratory, how to test the spinning mass field in a lab. They made these huge steel discs, like massive discs, big, heavy, the more mass the better, and they would spin these things around, build a big pole and spin, right? So when you're spinning something that big and that heavy, it creates a field of energy, and that field of energy alters the vibration of every particle in our body when you're near it. In this way, the influence of every planet is affecting the vibration of every particle in our body. Now the way they test this in a lab, these guys are real smart. They got a thing called an Accutron watch, which is a watch from the 60s. Okay, this is a 40-year-old watch. And this is around the time that they had a tiny tuning fork in a watch that was pinged by a battery, which would ping at a certain frequency. And that frequency of the tiny tuning fork would keep the watch in time. And these watches were like state of the art. They would only lose a couple of seconds a day. Like, yeah, you know, expensive watches. Now, in the laboratory, they would be spinning these massive discs, and they would put the watch on a thing on the wall and get this disc spinning, right? And the watch would start to noticeably lose and gain time. Now, the physical component of that watch is very, very straight up. There's a tuning fork in there. Now, let's say it's going 420 hertz. That means it's vibrating 420 times, was it hertz a second? Something like that? Or a minute, or however that works, doesn't matter. It's basically the amount that tuning fork would vibrate would alter while it was near the field of that huge spinning mass in the laboratory. So a spinning disc that's it's just sitting over, it's just there spinning. This watch is just sitting here, it's just near it, and it's starting to lose or gain time. So that means, this is when they got onto the idea that there's a field of energy coming out of this spinning thing that's making everything else change. This is gnarly. So this guy Richard C. Hoagland, in more recent days, worked out a way to get a laptop and hook up the Accutron watch to a laptop and hook it up to software so it would have a running graph in the laptop. So he would do stuff, he'd go to somewhere where there's an eclipse happening, and he would open the laptop and have the watch sitting there, and basically it'd be on a graph where the watch won't be losing or gaining time, the graph would just be flatlining. Then as the eclipse starts to happen, the watch just starts, the watch's ability, the tuning fork on the watch just starts to just go nuts. It can't keep the time anymore because the eclipse is having a direct effect on the tuning fork. This totally strange anomaly of the planets happening. So a lot of the time people when they experience an eclipse, and they talk about this in astrology as well, we have these kind of interesting experiences in our body. This is because the vibration of every particle in our body changes during the eclipse. And we have these mystical experiences, these things happen to people. And they talk about this with eclipse energy, with the moon and everything like that. All these sorts of alignments actually really affect us because these torsion fields just go through everything, affect the whole planet. So it's really, really special.